英語の質問からでいいんじゃないですか。
Okay, so you thought of coming up with a solo album till then?
Yeah, you know, I've always wanted to do a solo album, a long time ago. But I always had a lot of things to do with Queen, you know, in the past years, and I also, because I mean, you must remember most of nearly all of Queen albums are like mini solo projects anyway. And what happens is that the four of us write individually, and then we have like 3 or 4 songs on an album, and they're like our solo projects. Whoever writes takes over the whole thing. So I mean, they've been like solo projects for me anyway. But then finally, I decided that I should do songs that were entirely mine, and make a whole album with just Freddie Mercury songs. So basically, this album could be called Freddie Mercury songs, really, but I mean, it's called Mr. Bad Guy. And it's taken me this long because I wasn't quite ready to actually do it. And I found enough time for me to actually work properly on the songs that I wanted to do.
まあ今一番いい時期だったと思ったし、大体今までまあソロアルバムっていう形じゃなくても自分の仕事っていうのはそれなりにね、自分のそのソロだと思っていろいろ曲を書いてたわけですね、クイーンにいた頃から。でもまあなんとなく時期が来て、で自分のアルバムを出すその自信っていうのもできてきたし、ちょうど良かったんじゃないか、今の時期が。
今回のレコーディングのスタッフのね、人選っていうのはどういうふうにして決めたんでしょう。
How did you select on the band members to?
Well, see, initially, I had an idea that I wanted all kinds of sort of famous people to appear on it. Like I've been working with Michael Jackson for a while, and at the time when I was working with him, he said that he would appear on one of my tracks. So I had an idea that maybe I could get certain you know, musicians, I mean successful musicians, to actually appear on it. But then it got too late, and by the time I actually got into recording, I found that I was doing it all myself, and then I turned the other way. And I just said I want to do it completely myself. And so basically the musicians I've actually used, they're very good, but they're sort of German, sort of session musicians who are very good in their own right, and but they're not as famous as Michael Jackson or Rod Stewart or people like that. But I'm glad I did that, because in the end I think that's the best way that I could come up with my first solo album. That's basically just all me, and I haven't got any a thing like where people would regard me as saying, thinking that I actually employed celebrities to actually help me actually work on the solo album. So it's basically just me, and I like it that way.
で最初は結構有名なね、例えばマイケル・ジャクソンとかロッド・スチュワートとかその辺の有名な人をこう入れてでやろうと思ってたんですけれども、まあ、時間的なものとそれぞれのスケジュールのものとか考えているうちに、いいやもう自分で一人でやろうと。で自分の知ってるそのドイツのミュージシャン集めて、でそれでやろうっていうことを決めて。
今回のスタッフの中にはね、クイーンのメンバーが一人もいないんですけれども、そこら辺は入れようとか考えたことはなかったんですか
？The thought of having a member of Queen participate in the album never occurred to you?
No, I would have liked, to be honest, I would have liked them all to play on it, all the other Queen members. But then it wouldn't have been a solo, Freddie Mercury solo album. So the reason behind that was that if it's a solo, then they have to stay out of it. That's all there is to it. And I think they would have loved to have played on some of the tracks, but then they would have become Queen tracks. And, you know, certain amount of discipline that I have to sort of encounter, and I just said no, if it's my solo album it's got to be me or other musicians. Now it's nice working with other musicians as well, and that's the other thing about having a solo album. I mean, I wanted to sort of work with other people and see how songs turned out, and also I was in total control for once, you know, and I wanted it that way.
まあだから自分のソロアルバムということで、クイーンのメンバー入れちゃうとどうしてもクイーンになっちゃうから、わざと入れなかった。
最近は非常にそのクイーンの各メンバーもソロ活動が頻繁でね、それぞれの分野で活躍しているわけですけれども、そういうことをやってるとビッグネームの宿命として、クイーンというビッグネームの宿命としてね、いろいろマスコミ関係から、やっぱり解散の噂とかそういうのが飛び交うと思うんですけれども、そういう噂に対しては飽き飽きしてますか
？You're sick and tired of these rumors between, like in the media, that when you start solo projects, you know, the group deteriorates and all that.
Yeah, the media were trying to break us up nearly sort of 5 or 6 years ago. In fact, almost when we started, or when we actually became successful. Because I mean, that's what the press love, you know. Suddenly, you become successful, and one of us is going to. I remember that even when Roger was the first, Roger the drummer was actually the first one to actually do a solo album, and the moment that happened, they think, are there any rumors of us breaking up? But I mean, if we break up, I mean, we'll break up. I mean, and then press will know. But I think the press always want to be the first ones to know. No, in fact, I think my solo album has actually brought all of us together more than anything.
まあ5、6年前ちょうど一番成功してた頃からもうその周りがねもう解散するって噂してたんで、まあでもいつもそうだから。だけど自分としてはソロを出したことによってよりバンドがそれぞれもっと近くなったという気がしてしょうがない。ソロを出したことで。それはどういうことなんですか？ Meaning that
自分で受け止めが解消されたってことなのかな、バンド内における。
When you got the solo albums out, you just said that it seemed like the band got closer.
Yes, because I mean, because of these rumors and things like that, you know, it takes sometimes it's nice to actually sort of break away from a group that's actually been going for so long, meaning staying away. And once you stay away and somebody's done a project on their own, it seems like you either break away or you come closer together. It's not, so in a funny way, when we come back together, we now have a sort of different kind of intensity, and that's good, because I mean, of course the breakup rumors are always around, and you either sort of, your egos either take you away from all that and you break up, or they bring you closer together and just say, look, you know, we're not breaking up. And at the moment, to be very honest, I mean, we're very sort of together, and we sort of course they're very aware that my solo, you know, I've got a very good deal with CBS, and my solo album's taken off, and it's doing, my sort of single is doing very well. But, you know, whether they like it or not, they still, you know, they have to accept the fact that I'm still their singer. But, I mean, having actually said that, maybe 2 weeks later we might break up. But I mean, at the moment we're very, very together. Oh, that said something, isn't it?
ソロアルバムが出たりしてね、でそうすると解散の噂とか立ちますよね、でそうするとバンドっていうのは解散するかっていうか離れちゃうか、お互いのメンバーがそれともより近くなるか、どっちかしかないっていう、どっちかが両極端なんですよね、で例えばそのソロを作ったのがやっぱりグループからちょっと離れてもうちょっと冷めた目で見てみようっていう気持ちもあったし、それにあとはバンドメンバーとしては自分がソロを作ることに関しては全然反対しなかったし、むしろ協力的だったし、そういう意味でよりなんていうかこう理解がし合えて、で近くなったっていう。
But you see, there also is an inward jealousy. I mean, that would happen anyway. And they're all wondering and all waiting for us to see if say my album's going to do better than the last Queen album or something like that, which is a good challenge to have anyway. And like, in a way that if my album does do better than the last Queen album, then the next Queen album will have to be even better. So basically, we either sort of stay together, and then there is a sort of standard that we're sort of keeping up. And I would love my album to be better than the last Queen album, because that will set a precedent. And then the next Queen album, we're going to say it had better be better than Freddie Mercury's solo album, if we're still together. So I mean, I think we're in a way in a sort of competition, which is great. We've always been in competition within ourselves from the start, because we write little solo projects. We write our own songs, and there is an inward jealousy all the way through our history, you know, and that's what Queen albums have been made of. And there's this push, and there's this hunger, and there's this sort of fight to get the best songs out. And there's no way I was going to actually make a solo album of the leftover songs from Queen. I mean, my solo album is my best songs for the time. Somebody get that?
前作の「ワークス」というアルバムがありましたけども、あれを聴いてね、非常に本当の力関係が均一化しているという気がすごくしたんです。でフレディがちょっとこう弾いたというかね、弾いて他の人たちに場所を渡して、民主的に作ってるな、4人が同じ力で作ってるなという、そういうバンド内の民主化を図るようなこう動きがあったような気がするんですけれども、どうでしょう？
He feels that last Queen's album, it seems like everybody had about equal percentage of writing.
Almost. I had more than most of them. But very equal. It's getting to the stage where, yes.
Intentional.
Yes, well, see, I've actually been the main writer from the start. I mean, Brian and I have been the main songwriters. Like, if you go back to the very early days, I mean, John didn't write at all, and Roger didn't write at all, and Brian and I virtually took up 50% of the songwriting. So I mean, we have sort of grown up as being the two main writers, and now the others have started writing, and we encourage them as well. But I don't think there's ever been an album where it's completely equal writing status. I mean, on the last album it's come very close. I mean, I think the last album consisted of me writing 3.5, Brian writing 2.5, and the other two, I forget anyway. But I think maybe the next album we should really go completely even and maybe write 3 songs each, so there'll be like, 12 songs on the album. I think the time has come where we actually, in songwriting, we actually completely even.
次は全く平等になるんですか？
多分もっと平等になる。
それはね、今まで彼がその中心的なほとんどそのバンドの半分ぐらいを占めてた位置があったと思うんですけれども、それをこう意図的に自分自身で弾いてって他の人に場を明け渡したっていうそういうことなんでしょうか？
Is it intentional that you used to have more percentage than anybody else in the band, and now you're deliberately trying to give sort of, let's put it like, your space?
That's very true. Yes, that's very true. Because I mean, I know people think I just hog everything, but I mean, it's not quite true. I mean, I think what every album that's ever come out of Queen, we come out with a batch of songs, and we really pick the best. And if I have songs that I feel are better than somebody else's, if I have 5 songs that are better than one of Roger's songs, I'll say we won't have his one song. Like I remember that Roger actually wrote about 3 or 4 songs, and as far as I was concerned, some of them weren't good enough, and I just said go back and write some more, and things like that. So I mean, but then Roger will come up with something like Radio Gaga, and it's perfect. It's wonderful, and then I do encourage them. So I mean, I'm not trying to hog a Queen album in any way, but I mean, in a funny way, that makes them write better songs, and that doesn't mean I write the best songs, because I mean their songs are hits. I mean, it just means that in a funny way, if they come up with a very good song, then I have to make sure that I write a good song. But it's just that they do look upon me as the chief songwriter, because I have written all the songs from day one. And so I mean, Brian has his workload and I have my workload, and Brian and I are the principal writers, and I think John and Roger are coming into their own. So I guess on the next album it will be 4 principal writers, which I'd love to hear.
だけどね、
You understood that, huh?
ちょっとあなたというね、強力なそのリーダーシップを発揮する人間がだんだんいなくなると、そういうふうに民主的にしていくとね、ちょっとバンド内でやりにくくなっていくことってないんですか？
彼自身がですか？
そのバンド運営に関して。
If you try to make it democratic though, if that's the right word, I don't know, but wouldn't it be hard?
Diplomacy.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be hard to maintain band's balance between the people?
Yes, because I think there is, because I think there's no way you can actually tell that you don't write a better song than me, if you know what I mean. Because in the end, I mean, even I could actually say to somebody, that song is not as good as mine, but it's up to the public in the end. But the only way you realize that it's going to be a good song or received properly is to actually release it, and then it's too late. So I mean, I think in the end it's a consensus of opinion between the 4 of us. The 4 of us have to actually just fight it out, and in the end just say, this is what the Queen album, even then it might not be good, but it's just within us we have to sort of come up with, there are times where we fight numerously, where Roger will say, look, I love this song that you've written, meaning me, but it's not on the album, and I say, look, there's no room, why don't you get rid of one of your songs? And then I'll put it on, and that doesn't work, you see. So I mean, but diplomacy is something, I mean, and in one way that's quite nice, because in a funny way, having done my solo album is now giving them more room to actually write more for themselves, because I mean, in a way, I mean, before I did my solo album, I was sort of very involved with Queen, and I wanted all my output to come out through Queen. Now that my solo album has come out, I've sort of actually channeled all my energies into my solo album, and so now I think there's a little breathing space where everybody else can come into their own. So I think it'll be good. That's another way of saying that we can come together. I've actually sort of allowed a breathing space, and I'm not going to be so greedy as I was before, because I'm going to say, fine, I've got my solo album already out, and we can all write equal, and there you have it.
ソロ活動をすることによって 今まで自分がね占めてた位置っていうのはありますよね。自分がこれだけ占めたいって思う部分がありますよね。それがちょっとクイーンの中で減っても自分のソロがあるからいいやっていう部分が結構あって、ソロの方にエネルギーを注げばいいんだっていう、そういう考えがあるから、みんなそれはあるわけですね。それぞれソロを出してる人がね。
なるほどね。
そういう意味で結構なんていうかうまくいくんじゃないかなっていう。
ということはソロ活動をそれぞれがするということはバンドに対する欲求不満が高まってるみたいなことの証なんでしょうか。
Would you say there's like people, your members, Queen members coming out with solo album and yourself coming out with a solo album? Would you say that there's been a little bit of pressure within Queen to not have a breathing space by coming out with a solo album? I can't feel it.
Oh, I'm trying to work that out. It sounds like traffic out Piccadilly Circus. I mean, let me have a look. Try it again, girl. Because I don't understand that at all.
You see, when you said that you came out with a solo album, now you had a breathing space, and you would be like putting so much.
No, I was talking about that from my point of view.
Right.
It was like something like I felt, yes, in a way, maybe I've made a breathing space for everybody because I've sort of suddenly come up with a solo album, and that it sort of means that I'm not going to be hungry as much on the next Queen album. So maybe they'll have more space to actually work on the next Queen album.
Would you say that you were not satisfied with only doing work for Queen?
No, but I would put it that. But there's another way of putting it, is that maybe I had a lot more songs that I wanted to put on Queen albums, but because of the diplomatic factor, I wanted to make sure, because I mean, I think that in the end, the public that buy Queen records want to listen to all of us, all four of us, actually write the songs. And so, I mean, I think there was a time where I remember John actually saying to me that he was quite willing to let me write all the songs on Queen, but I wasn't prepared to do that, because then that would be a Freddie Mercury solo album within Queen. My solo album should be outside Queen, for me. And I was not prepared to do that. So basically, I think over the years, now that the other members have got, and like when I say other members, I think John and Roger sort of become their own writers in their own right. And I'd like them to write more and more, because that sort of enhances Queen product anyway.
だからクイーンに対する欲求不満というよりも欲求不満というふうに言えないみたいなんですけども。
それはもうやめた方がいいですね。
はい、じゃあすみません、ちょっとテープチェンジテー。
じゃあちょっと話題を変えましょうか。
あ、いいですか。わかりました。まあ行きます。
ええ。
Okay, I'm not going to interpret that in Japanese anymore because there's not much time.
僕もよく聞いてますから。
わかりました。
Because of that, yeah, it takes up time.
Exactly.
Because you can always do it later.
話しましょう。
Yeah, that'll keep it flowing better.
Okay, so going away from the subject of Queen.
Is this on? Because they're not on.
で新作っていうかソロアルバムにはね、非常にいろんな種類の曲が入っています。そしてしかもその現在の流行ですとか、あまり考えてなくて独自の世界を本当に築いているなといういいアルバムだと思ったんですが、あえてその周りの状況に左右されないで作ろうという方針があったんですか。
All your tracks in your solo album is very unique, and were you すみません、最後のところもう一回。
だからそういう流行とかね、周りの状況とかに左右されずに作るんだという方針が最初から決まっていたんですか。
Did you deliberately not try to be affected by the fads that were going around, the music fads and the trends?
No, that's not quite true. I'm quite aware of what goes on, but that doesn't mean I want to sort of interpret that kind of fashion and trend into my songs. I'm aware of what goes on, but I still write a song the way I feel it. And if it means that a song that I like needs something that's old-fashioned, I will still do it. Because I mean, I never let a song down. I mean, a song comes first. And so I mean, that's why I've done something like, okay, there's a track called Living on My Own, which has got scat singing, which is something that, say, Ella Fitzgerald did a long time ago. But I wanted to do that, and it's not the current trend at the moment, but maybe it can set a trend, you know? I mean, a rock and roll artist has never done scat singing in that way, because it's not allowed or it's not appreciated that way. But I'm not worried about that. I mean, if a song needs that, And I wanted to showcase my sort of vocal ability on that track, and that's what I was doing. So basically, I mean, I do whatever I like, but I'm aware of what goes on. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to pinch it or say that that's exactly what I should do. But I'm aware.
ミスターバッドガイっていう曲にはね、これは曲の認証が愛なんですけどね、一人称なんですけれども、そういうふうに書かれた詩を読むと思わずその深読みしてしまうわけなんですけども、その中でね、やっぱり、これ深読みしてしまうと、その他人が自分に対して思ってるようなことをパロディとして、出してみたというそういう意図がありました。
For Mr. Bad Guy track, you say I. You used to like subject I. Now that's more like a tongue-in-cheek song, like.
It is. It depends. I mean, that's about the only. Yes, because I say I'm Mr. Bad Guy. I am Mr. Mercury. It is me. So it's all coming from here. I'm singing it, you know, and people can take it any way they want. People can take it and relate to it in any way they want. I hate, to be honest, in the end, even in interviews or even in sort of any kind of chat shows or whatever, I hate actually trying to analyze my songs to the full. It's like people still ask me what Bohemian Rhapsody is about, and I say I don't know, because I think it loses the myth, and it sort of it actually sort of ruins a kind of imagination or whatever, or something that people have built up. And I will say as much as I can about certain songs I write, but in the end I don't like to analyze it, because I don't analyze songs myself. I mean, I just sing them, I write them, and I record them and produce them. And then it's up to the individual buyer to actually buy it the way that he or she feels it. You know? Because otherwise I ruin a kind of mystique that might portray that track. So I hate doing that. And as far as Mr. Bad Guy is concerned, it is to do with me, but I mean, I can be Mr. Bad Guy in very different ways to a lot of people. And I'm not going to sit here and say what Mr. Bad Guy exactly means. All I can say is Mr. Bad Guy is me, and then they can take it from there.
ちょっと簡潔に訳してください。
結局ですね、自分の詩っていうのはあんまりね、こう分析するのは嫌いなんですよ。っていうのは人に想像してもらいたいと、いうことで。
Yeah, he needs that input because otherwise he doesn't know what to ask me afterwards. Anyway, carry on.
あなたはその真面目なメッセージソング、世の中を変えるようなすごくシリアスなメッセージソングを作ろうと思えば多分作れる、そういう音楽的才能を持った人なのにもかかわらず、割とその自分の曲をですね、エンターテインメントとかファンタジーとかっていうそういう作り方のその一つの決まりみたいなものをちゃんと持ってて、そこからはみ出さないようにしてるっていう感じがするんですけれども、あえてそういうその真剣な辛辣なメッセージソングというか、カリスマになるようなそういうシリアスな曲を作っていかないのはなぜなんでしょう。
You probably have the time to write any song you can, and probably some serious, very like message songs. But do you deliberately not stay away from those? Writing?
That's very true. I don't like to write message songs because I'm not sort of politically orientated. I'm not like a John Lennon or a Stevie Wonder. I just feel that my songs are just basically commercial love songs, and I like to put my emotional talents into that. I don't want to change the world. I don't want to talk about peace or any kind of sort of political content, because I just don't feel I'm motivated that way. You have to be motivated that way. I mean, it's all right for me to sit here and just say, okay, or get up in the morning and say, I want to write a peace song. That wouldn't be right, because I mean, those kind of things you have to actually believe in. And I'm not saying that I don't believe in peace. I just don't feel that I don't personally feel I'm capable of writing peace messages and things like that, because I'm not in that sort of in that environment. I don't want to put myself in that environment. I'm into basically writing songs about what I feel about, and basically what I feel very strongly about is love and emotion. And I think my solo album is filled with that in various different attitudes and ways, and that's about as far as I want to go. But I'm not a John Lennon who will sort of go and sleep and will actually act out his actual emotions, apart from writing songs, peace for the world or whatever, and sleep in bags for I don't know how long, to actually go through that, because I'm not that way. And for me to actually go and write a peace message would be wrong, because I think it would be, people wouldn't relate, because suddenly they would say, Freddie Mercury suddenly wants to write about peace. You have to sort of have a very sort of strong upbringing and a long sort of, you have to go through a certain amount of history of actually allowing people to accept the fact that, look, he does believe in what he's writing about. And as far as I'm concerned, I hope people believe in the fact that I do go through torture and pain in terms of love and whatever. And that's all I want to write about. It comes easy for me, and I think that's my natural gift. So that's all I want to do.
今ジョン・レノンの話を言ったんですけど、昔あなたはねジョン・レノンのことを評価して、彼は単にその音楽的な才能があるだけではなくて音楽的才能のように何か一つのマジックがあるというふうに言ってたんですね。で自分はどうかというと音楽的才能は十分あると。だけどそのマジックがない分彼のようなカリスマにはなれないんだということをおっしゃってたんですが、そういう考え方っていうのは今の変わってないということですか？
昔彼がそう言ってた。
そうです。
彼自身が。
そうです。
Last time you were talking about John Lennon, you said that he had this magic, which you did not quite possess. And
well, I mean, I've never. Well, to be honest, I would never like to put myself at any kind of parallel with John Lennon at all, because he was just the greatest, as far as I was concerned. So I mean, that's that done with. I mean, you know, there's no way. I mean, but at the same time, I didn't exactly say that I didn't have. It's not a matter of less talent or more talent. It's just that certain people are capable of doing certain things better than somebody else. And I just feel that I'm not equipped to do certain things that John Lennon did. And I don't think anybody should, because John Lennon was just unique and a one-off, and that's the way it is. And I just I admire John Lennon very much, and that's as far as I want to go. I just want to then think about myself and put myself across in the way that I want to think of. And in terms of peace messages, I'm not it, so I don't want to do it.
まあ何回も聞かれた質問だと思うんですけどね、ジョン・レノンが殺された時に、どういうふうな感想を持ちましたか？
How did you feel when you first heard that he had assassinated?
Well, of course I was shocked. You know, I was just dumbfounded, and what do you do? I mean, it's just something that you think will always happen to somebody, or you, or whatever, and it just happened to somebody. I mean, it's just one of those things. What can you do? Well, I was just shocked and disbelief. There was disbelief, and life goes on.
ね、さっきほらメッセージソングとかカリスマになるとかっていう方向は嫌いだっていうふうにおっしゃってましたよね。だけどもそのホットスペースっていうこの前の、アルバムにはね、そのジョン・レノンが死んだ時に関してのみ結構生真面目なメッセージソングって言っていいのかな、すごくその心情を正直に出した曲があったと思うんです、ジョン・レノンに関して。それをちょっとありましたかっていうことで。
But he recalls, going back to the thing about the message song, he recalls that you did a track when John Lennon.
Yes, but see, that's very true. But see, that wasn't a message song. That was a song in tribute for him, which is completely different to what John Lennon was doing. I mean, it's sort of like, if I was pushed, I can write a message song. I mean, like, there are certain kinds of messages. I mean, I'm not saying that I haven't ever written a kind of message song, but it's not in the John Lennon idiom, if you know what I mean, in that trend. I mean, I've written a song called "We're the Champions," which is a kind of a message song, but it is not for world peace. It's more, it's in a different direction. But I mean, of course, I mean, it's very true the fact that when John Lennon sort of passed away, I mean, I wrote a song in tribute. It had nothing to do with anything to actually sort of, it wasn't for the people or anything, it was for John. It was from me to John. And basically that has got, there's no parallel or any kind of distinction between what he did and what I did. It was just a song, a little gift, you know, because he passed away. But I mean, having said that, I mean, the nearest thing I can say to a message song is that things like on my solo album, I've written a song called "There Must Be More to Life Than This." It's not even message. It's as nearest as I want to go to talking about world politics or the sort of disasters that are happening in the world. I don't really write. I don't really like writing songs in that sphere. But there comes a time when I actually feel emotional in that way. And so basically it's just a very small part of what John Lennon actually did. I'm being very modest, but very true.
ペントハウスの僕はインタビューちょっと読みまして、その中でね、エルトン・ジョンとそれからロッド・スチュアートと彼はすごく親友だそうで、それで3人でバンドを作ろうかって話をしてね、髪の毛と鼻と口というバンドを作ろうとしたっていう話が出てきたんですけど、それは冗談でなかったんですか？
You read your interview with Penthouse, and you're very good friends with Elton John and Rod Stewart, and you sort of forming this band called...
that was just tongue-in-cheek, that was a joke. That really was a joke, but I mean, like, because we meet up from time to time at parties or dinner, at dinners, and we just talk about that. And there was this one dinner where we actually had, and then we decided maybe we should sort of sing together. But I don't think getting 3 people like us in a studio would be like like throwing a bomb somewhere. I mean, it would just explode. So it was tongue-in-cheek, and I don't think it'll ever happen. But I mean, it's nice to talk about it. But I mean, and when you're drunk and you know you've had a lot of wine, you talk about it and say yes, let's do it. But the next day you're sober and you think I'm not going to sing with him. And it's vice versa. He's going to say, Elton's going to say, I'm not going to sing with Rod. And Rod says, I'm not going to sing with Freddie. And I'll say, I'm not going to sing with Elton. So there you go. But if that ever comes about, I mean, I'll buy the record myself.
その親友だってのは本当なんですか？
But you're very close friends.
We are, yes. We are. I mean, we're friends as far as that when we meet up, we go out and we have a laugh, you know. The last time we were in Los Angeles doing the Queen album, The Works, and Rod Stewart happened to be in town. He just came in and we started jamming and we wrote songs together and things. Well, actually, we were just jamming and I had a song and I made him sing that song, and I think that song would still be, you know, could be worked out. But I mean, it was all done on the spur of the moment, and you know, there might be no time. The same way that David Bowie and Queen actually did a sort of duet together was the same way. I mean, he just happened to come into the studio and we were fooling around and just sort of jamming with tracks, and suddenly we said, why don't we just see what we can do on the spur of the moment, and then that sort of actually progressed and sort of snowballed into actually becoming a fully fledged song, and so out came Under Pressure. So those things are very, you have to leave it, you can't plan those things, they either just happen or they never will.
スターダムのあなた、ステージにいるあなたとね、それから日常のあなたと、それがいつもスターダムにいるようなフレディなんだと思われてね、それで迷惑を被ったり誤解されたりしたっていうことが多い方ですか？
When you're on stage or you're in like a member of Queen or you're in Stardom and you're on private, people would say, even when you're in private, people would say that, oh, Freddie's like this because he's like, you know, he's a star and all that. And
that's completely untrue.
Does that bother you very much?
It doesn't bother me at all. I'd like to feel that after all these years, I'm myself at every given point. When I'm on stage, that's Freddie Mercury. When I'm off stage, I'm Freddie Mercury. And that's the only way to be. I mean, the days have gone where I actually felt that when I was on stage, when I came off, I still had to sort of portray that Freddie Mercury image because of other people. I used to do that before because you have to grow up and you have to understand. You have to really come to grips with success. And over the years, I found out that you can become a very, very lonely person if you have to do that. And I'm not afraid when I come off stage to actually be myself, which is, you know, it can be very, very boring and mundane. But most people, and in fact, quite a lot of people, when they meet me, they're quite disillusioned. The fact that they expect me to actually just do what I do on stage, and I'm a human being, you know, and I'd like people to realize the fact that I'm a human being, and that I can sort of react that way, and I have the same feelings, and the same, you know, kind of destructive qualities. I'm bad and good, like everybody else, and I'd like people to think that they should allow me that kind of freedom as well. So I mean, I'm just being me all the time, and at this moment in time, I'd like to feel that I'm just being my honest self, and I don't give a shit about what other people say.
今仮にね、ステージにいる自分というのがこういて、それから本当にプライベートな 全く他人がいないところにいる自分がいて、そういう自分がこう2つに分かれたとしますね。そしてこのステージにいる自分を見たときに、あ、フレディ・マーキュリーってどういう人間なんだっていうふうに思うでしょう。
Okay, suppose that you were differentiating yourself on stage and private, and when you're private and you see Freddie Mercury on stage,
I love him.
what's your comment on?
No, I think the way I look at myself, if I ever do, is I'm a man of extremes, and to be honest, I think I don't really analyze myself to that degree. But I mean, you always have a certain amount of an idea of what you're all about, and I think my character on stage is totally different to what I am off stage, as far as I'm concerned. And I think every character is made up of a load of ingredients, and I just think I have a very soft side and a very hard side. But I will say one thing is that I think I am a man of extremes, but I don't feel I have that much in the middle, which is you either get me where I'm very strong or I'm very soft. So if the right person gets me, they'll find me that I'm very vulnerable and I can be a real baby if they find me the right time. At the same time, I'm very strong and very hard. And there's no half measures with me. So that makes it can be very precarious, and it can be very hard, because I mean, sometimes somebody can get you when you're very soft and they can tread all over you, which has happened a lot of times. But then sometimes people meet me and they're very hard. When I'm hard, I'm very strong, and nobody can get through to me. So it's a combination of both those. I'm very soft and very up, and somehow that is my circulation. That's what I'm made of.
On stage?
No, that's my whole life. On stage, I'm very strong. Nobody can get it. That's when I'm very powerful. But when I'm off stage, I can be very soft. But it depends on who is around, and I just open up all the doors, and then they find out I'm very, very soft, and they just tread all over me. I mean, so it's a combination of both.
Well, what kind of guy, in just one few words, what kind of guy is Mr. Freddie Mercury on stage?
On stage, I'm very powerful. On stage, I'm powerful. I'm a bad guy on stage, yeah.
じゃあ最後の質問なんですが。
Is that all he asked you? You could have asked me that before, and I went through this whole damn thing.
That was necessary.
Well, there you are. You have it on tape.
Yeah.
Use it.
Of course.
いいですか。
Well, that's the nearest I've come to a lot of passion in terms of interviews. I mean, I should.
You're at time.
Yeah, I'm fine. I can
This is the
talk.
last question.
I can talk.
40歳にもうそろそろ手が届くという年齢ですけれども、ロックと年齢の関係についてはどのように考えていらっしゃいますか。
Okay, so you're turning to be 40, getting close to 40 years old.
I'm 38. It takes 2 years to get to 40. 2 whole years, 12 months to get to 40.
Age, how is age related to rock and roll? Rock music.
I don't know how other people do it, but in terms of what I'm concerned, I don't worry about my age at all, because I know I look beautiful anyway. But having said that, it's that I just don't worry about it. I mean, I just think that sometimes age is a good quality, because I mean, age means experience anyway. And I'm using all the experience that I've gathered over the years to benefit by. And to be honest, I don't worry about it, because why should anybody worry about age? Because there's nothing you can do about it. You can't get younger. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I just want to pack in as much of life and fun and having a good time as much as I can within the years I have. So I'm not worried about getting younger or getting older. I just know that I just want to live life to the full and spend it.
Thank you very much.
There you are.
Okay.
Well, if you can't use that, I'll tell you.
He's very privileged.
That's it. But I mean, as long as you get that, you get hold of it and
There we
just
go.
send it out everywhere. Because I mean, I just keep doing interviews, and now I think, well, on video or whatever, you have enough. Wouldn't you say, I can't talk in you? What other No, but you cut, and
That's right. He's very
suddenly you go from one to the other, and I think you'd make a good compilation. That's it. I really.
I think our staff could get a couple of shots right now.
Sure.
Okay. I just moved out of the way.
Oh. Just me and my